The city of Johannesburg has led a raid into the Westdene area following the death of 2 preschool children after alleged rat poisoning. This follows a tip-off from the local residents' association of 5 suspected illegal preschools in the area. Our reporter Janka Tome has been following that story and joins us now live. Now, Janka, so officials inspected a number of these creches, for want of a better phrase, because what they found were places that really weren't decent enough to be looking after young children.
Yes, now we've known for quite some time, and we've spoken about this, that there are quite a number of unregistered ECDs, not just in Johannesburg, but in Gauteng as a whole. But after this specific incident, they partnered up with the Residents Association to just go and identify some of them that they're not even aware are actually operating. So they do have some that are not registered on their system, and they are working with them to get registered, and then there are those that seem to be basically mushrooming or coming out of nowhere because they don't know that they are actually operating. And I have to say, some of them did have signs outside, but others, you can't. It does look like a normal house from the outside. So you can understand that not everyone always knows that these centres are actually operating. But they found, we inspected about 6. The first one was compliant. It was as an example of what they should look like. And then we moved on to the rest, the 5 that were not, one of them were compliant. 2 of them, to a certain extent, that they had to close them down. They said that they issued them with notice. For example, the one was in a residential home. There was up to 42 children in this ECD centre. And while you can see that there's attempts to make it compliant and to give basically quality care and education for these children, the space is not meant to
How many bedrooms
cater.
were in that house?
Well, it was difficult to say. Actually, there was one room where there was about 20 kids sitting back to back on the little chairs and the little tables. They couldn't even move around. And then there were concerns about where the nappies were being changed. And if you walked outside, there was an empty pool. And even though it had a net over it, it just seemed pretty unsafe. And if we know that the incident where the 2 kids allegedly ate rat poison, you can imagine that the smallest thing that lying around can be a danger to the children. So let's just take a listen to what the MMC had to say shortly after the raid.
Very concerning, the conditions under which children are being taken care of. I think I need to start by saying that there is an ECD crisis in the country. The fact that the government is not offering early childhood development the same way that we do with basic education is a crisis on its own. In the city of Johannesburg, there's an estimated 500,000 children that require early childhood development, and they all need to go to private ECDs to get this service. Now, what we found today was various levels of compliance across the different ECD facilities that we visited. We have had to issue notices to close down for 2 of the facilities, and the others we've issued notices with what things they need to put in place, and we will continue monitoring to see that they comply on those issues.
So that's what the MMC had to say. Did you have an opportunity to speak to any of the owners of these centres, and what did they have to say?
Yes, I did manage to speak to some of them. Some say they have been trying over the years to make sure that they do tick all the right boxes. For example, the one where there was 42 children in the home says he's basically 50% compliant, and there's still some certain things like sometimes it's zoning issues, the fact that they are running a business in a residential area. Sometimes it's health and safety concerns. Sometimes it is something like a fire extinguisher that's missing in a creche. So sometimes it's quite serious. Other times it's more administrative stuff, but what they're saying that they are going to work with the department. They said that they are happy to comply and to work towards being compliant. But if I ask them about the time that they have been operating, because for instances it's a year or 2 years, they don't really always have answers as to why it's taken so long. Others are saying that they actually struggled with the officials. They've tried to follow the right procedure, but if some of the inspectors had to come back to inspect the premises, they said that they never showed up. And that's something that the MMC said that they would look into some of these concerns, that they were trying to do the right thing, but there was just a number of obstacles in their way. But all of them, Well, what can you say? You are operating illegally, even if it is a small administrative thing. If you don't have a certificate and you are looking after people's kids when they are not there, that is still, it is a concern. But if we take their word, they are going to work to make sure that they get to the certain point that they are compliant.
Now, this focus was very much on West Dean because it comes just a week or so after two little ones died after eating rat poisoning at one of those centres that you speak of in West Dean. Is this an event kicking on to what happened to those kids, or is it something that this department has been aware of for some time?
Well, they say they have been working mostly through awareness campaigns to make sure that people understand that if they are going to run a childcare centre, and I have to make it clear, it's if you have more than 6 children under your care at a certain stage, then you have to apply for a permit or for the compliance certificate. They're saying that they're going to continue with these awareness campaigns, but they're also going to continue with the raids in other parts of Johannesburg because, as I said, some of these creches, we do not know that they are actually operating. So they need to work with civil society, anyone basically giving them tip-offs of any illegal centres operating. But again, they can be closing one down and then there's another one mushrooming.
And obviously a call to parents to make sure that the places that they leave their kids with actually have the correct paperwork to do what they'll be doing.
Yes, if I understand correctly, they should actually put it in the reception area, or they have to put the certificate up to make sure that they do have, they are operating, legally.
Okay, Janka Tome, thank you so much. Very important story there, and thank you for bringing us the very latest.